Real Talk is proudly sponsored by Huawei P20 Pro and MTN.
Each week for 10 weeks, we're giving away the latest Huawei.
Good evening and welcome to Real Talk with me, Azania. Now, through the weeks, Real Talk, MTN and Huawei partnered with different charities to create and capture Real Talk moments and connect people using Huawei's latest phone, the P20. So let's take a look at the journey thus far.
There we go.
Oh!
Look at this. Wow. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness!
Out of here.
Wow, Akram, what a journey it's been, hasn't it?
It's really, really incredible. You know, it's emotional just looking at those, and it really touched us as well. We love being a part of this, so thank you guys.
Absolutely, it's been so uplifting and inspiring.
Absolutely.
A wonderful reminder of how fragile life can be. But before we get to the campaign, let's talk about you for a minute, because you've had this long-standing love and interest with mobile gadgets. So apparently you used to be the go-to guy for cell phone repairs?
Go-to guy. That's a long time ago, and it used to be back in the time when I still resided in Durban. So I guess being the go-to guy is because everybody expected me to repair their phones free of charge. So, but there's actually a story to that. You know, it all started from the fact that I couldn't afford a mobile phone back then, and unlike today, where every turn you make, somebody has a mobile phone in their hand. Using a cell phone at that period, you know, you stand out. You're somebody important in society. And unfortunately, I couldn't afford one. And I traded a biker jacket that I had at the time with somebody that had a cell phone. So that was my first cell phone. And also customization. Now you can change covers. You can do so many things to get it to look and speak your style.
Yes.
Back then, you really needed to get into the device. So I stripped it apart. And that's where it started. And it became a hobby.
Yeah.
A hobby turned into a passion. And well, today I'm here speaking to you.
Oh
So
my gosh,
that's the journey.
you've been into the guts of a cell phone and actually made it work afterwards. I guess that's how far curiosity can take you. So you're reminding me now, like 10 years ago, we used to communicate so differently from how we do now. Now, cell phones are a means of communicating. They are so intertwined with how we communicate. What are your reflections on that?
It actually has become a part of who we are, right?
Yeah.
It's an extension of our personality, our lifestyles. But you correctly say that, you know, back then it was very, very different. And I think cell phones drive the change in technology. I mean, similar to if you look at an engine or the invention of an engine, you know. It completely redefined the way we see transportation, but it came from a need for us to develop and to improve the way we travel and the way we commute. Similarly, if you look at mobile technologies nowadays, when you have the likes of a few years ago, we were still on 3G and we're like, great, we've got internet access. What happens next?
Yes.
The demand from
edge era.
Yeah,
You forget that era.
exactly. And you know, the demand from consumers, it just changes everything. So it defines what happens in the industry, because now you're on 3G and then data consumption increases. You're starting to watch more movies and you're streaming content, all of this. And you're like, well, the user experience, not that great anymore. Yeah. So we move on to 4G, and now we're exploring 5G technologies. So I think consumer need, or humans' urge, the desire to improve and to better lifestyles in ourselves is actually what drives technology forward.
Absolutely. So what has Huawei done as far as innovation is concerned to make sure that cell phones are much more personal and that they bring about a lot more value for the user?
I think value, and you correctly mentioned that personal touch, the consumer experience, is what is vitally important for us, and it's why we are pioneering the move towards AI, or artificial intelligence technology. It's because of that extension of it becoming more your personal assistant, or more of who you are. You are now requiring behavioral prediction. You're looking at natural language translation. You are looking for devices that are able to understand, so even contextual understanding. This is where you would find technology improving your lives. And what I mean by context understanding and behavior learning is, can you imagine your device being able to understand that every night at maybe 9 p.m. is when you charge it? So during the day, it will conserve power and the resources to be able to last you till that period. This is understanding, because correct, because not everybody's the same. We all have our own needs and requirements, and we operate differently. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. When it comes to context understanding, it's you ask your mobile device, what's the weather in Johannesburg tomorrow? But your next question, you're now done, and it gives you this information. You don't need to say, well, what's the weather in Johannesburg today? You just say, how about today? And it's able to understand that context, that this is what you're talking about, and relate that. So it becomes a better user experience. It improves the way you interact. And this is all driven through machine learning and artificial intelligence. And at the moment, Huawei is the leader in the space in the mobile industry.
Can't wait to see what comes out of this conference that's happening in Shanghai, the expo that's happening next month.
Yeah, so the Huawei Connect Expo in Shanghai is about bringing together like-minded individuals, as well as companies, businesses, enterprises. And I was just chatting about artificial intelligence, and the concept about this expo is activate intelligence. How do we find out, it's predicted by 2025 that you're going to have 86% of organizations or industry adopting artificial intelligence in some way or the other. It's going to become commonplace. And data utilization is going to reach about 80%. So we are getting together with industry and like-minded individuals to find out how do we best utilize these resources to better improve lifestyles and lives of individuals and consumers in general, or mankind. People are afraid when they hear about artificial intelligence. But to put it into perspective, you go to a doctor, and you could have a life-threatening condition, or you could have an illness. And yes, this man's brilliant. This physician knows exactly what he's talking about, but he needs to go through a lot of data. So your medical records, your history, he needs to diagnose exactly what's wrong with you. So he would find out what are your symptoms, etc. So just imagine AI in play, where it's able to run through all of these heaps of information and more accurately, precisely, in a shorter space of time, provide the physician with this information so he can spend time and his expertise to treat your illness. This is the kind of real-world scenarios we're going into, and we want to see how can we actually improve lives through this rather than taking away from mankind.
Well, I think Huawei, with MTN, along with us and SABC3, have partnered to improve lives over the past couple of weeks.
We certainly have.
So apart from this, what else is Huawei doing in this regard?
Well, I think we want to remove technology from the human element, but the fact of the matter is that technology actually drives improvement in lives and in lifestyle. So if you look at connectivity, the more access you have to information or the internet, etc., faster internet speeds, get kids to learn better. It's improved access to information, access to content. Communities are improved, lifestyles, economies improved. So that's one aspect. But then, of course, real talk moments, and then we also have a YouTube channel that we're currently running. The program's called Dream It Possible, so beyond this. And we have a dedicated team that runs this project where we go out into communities, people have access to us and they can email us or speak via our social media platforms and just actually send us your dreams. What is it? How can we make a life-changing difference to you beyond just the tech? And our teams go out and actually knock on your door and give you a surprise, and perhaps we will make those dreams come true. So for those of you out there that want to be able to access this kind of assistance, you're welcome to follow our YouTube channel called Dream It Possible. And also we have youth employment and youth development programs. So Huawei drives us quite aggressively. Just in the last 2 months ago, we had a project at our offices where we invited graduates, over 300 of them. We took them through a program where we showed them what corporate life is really about, gave them the skills to be prepared for corporate, and then we employed quite a few of them as well. And I think these are some of the things where we are trying to help individuals, help communities, but more specifically South Africa.
Absolutely.
Because a few short years ago, Huawei was not as large as it is now, especially from respect to a brand. You know, we currently own at 93% brand awareness in South Africa, and in the high-end flagship space, $400 and above, Huawei is the #1 selling brand in South Africa at the moment. So, and all of this is because of our consumers and the people of South Africa. So we want to give something back. And
Wonderful,
I think these are the
and
ways
may
we
it
do
forever continue.
Amen
Thank
to
you
that.
so much. It's great to see that Real Talk Moments has had or plays a part in the space when it comes to your ambitions and the role that you play in the users' lives. Akram, thank you very much.
Azania, thank you for allowing us this opportunity to be a part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, after the break, we meet Emily Mabasa, a brave young girl whose story will really make you see that the sky is not the limit. You don't want to miss my chat with her after this. Welcome back to Real Talk. This season, MTN and Huawei partnered up with Real Talk to inspire and uplift people by capturing moments and connecting all of us. Emily Mabasa has an incredible story of hope and triumph. So let's take a look at how Huawei and Real Talk put a smile on her stunning face.
Today, I promise you, I'm going to blow your mind because we're meeting a young lady called Emily. This woman is an incredible inspiration. She was born with a disability, basically only learned to walk at the age of 15. She had to learn how to talk, and I promise you, she has gone above and beyond.
Having a disability is something that I was born into. Having a life is something that I choose to have.
So they're about to take off. The tug plane is coming in that's going to pull them up.
Than I expected.
I'm just so grateful to everybody for being with me and taking this journey with me.
Emily, we love you. You're the best. Cheers, Azza.
Oh, she was certainly unforgettable to me and the team. One of the most memorable #Real Talk moments. And she's right here. Emily,
Hello.
Emily. It's so beautiful to have you here, and I'm glad that we could have a little bit more of a chat about your journey. You are a shining example of what a fighting spirit is all about. Where does it come from? Considering the prognosis that you had, doctor said you wouldn't be able to walk. You only started walking at the age of 12. Tell me about this resilience.
I just wanted to prove to myself, most importantly, what I could do. So, you know, having siblings that could walk, I wanted to do the same. And having parents that never treated me differently did justice for me. So I give the credit to my family. I mean, that's where my strength comes from. And every time I do something that somebody said, a medical doctor said I couldn't do, it just makes me far more excited than I could ever think. And the fact that I tell people all the time, the fact that you can walk, you should not take that for granted, because for me, it's been a long journey and it continues to be that.
Yes. And all the things that you've come to learn over the years, as you say, lots of people would take them for granted. You couldn't speak for a very long time in your formative years. In fact, you ended up coming up with your own means of communicating with your siblings.
Yes.
How did you communicate?
We communicated because also writing was a problem. So we communicated through playing with blocks and colors. And that's why I'm very good with numbers and them being patient with me. I'm so grateful because then in that way, it actually encouraged me to learn new languages. So to date, I can speak 8 languages because of what they did for me. So it's exciting every day when I learn something new.
It sounds like such a special family. Tell me about them. Tell me about your siblings and your parents.
Okay. I have 4 older siblings. Being the last born, I think it was quite daunting for my parents, not knowing what cerebral palsy was and what they needed to do to make sure that I had a normal life as possible. And I tend to ask people, but what is normal?
Right.
See? So, but then my parents are just so brave, and my mom, for one, never let me get away with some of the things I thought I could get away with, like not washing dishes when I was younger. She's like, you need to wash dishes. And I'm like, but she's like, no, your hands work. So that was definitely one of the fond memories that I have of my mom.
You're getting emotional.
I am, because she had to give up her job to look after me.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, Emily. She sounds like an incredible woman. And here you are, showing the reward of that sacrifice. So she's not around anymore.
No, she is. She is still alive, but I'm just so grateful because she recently started working again.
She sees you're independent.
Yes. Yes. It's so much fun though, playing with my mom, because like she's been in my life most of the time. Like growing up, she was my friend. So what can I say? She's the one person that I could confide in through everything. And now that I'm independent, she feels like she needs to let go. So I'm actually teaching her to let go. And it's quite fun, because some of the things, like when I went gliding, she was not too happy.
And you're the one that insisted, I'm doing this, it's my dream.
Yes, I did insist. And there's a lot of things that I've done. I've done hiking as well. She was not too keen, but I was like, if you do not let me do it and challenge myself, then I'll never know if I can do it.
Yes.
So I'm so grateful to her and my dad. You know, my dad has always just been there as a father figure and not letting me feel like I was not a daughter to him, just like my sister and my older brother. So my family is just a great pillar of strength to me.
Yeah.
And I think I'm so awesome because of them.
You say it, you declare it. It's perfect, you declare it. So you recently got, I think when we visited you, when you went gliding, at the time you only had your learners.
Yes.
So this independence grows because now you have your driver's license.
Yes.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. I'm very excited because I think that's the first time I've ever done something feeling so nervous.
Yeah.
Because I've done so many lessons over and over, because I think I'm a perfectionist, so I want to do things right the first time around. And when I went in there and the instructor had this face, I'm like, I'm not going to let this guy ruin my moment. I'm not going to let him take this away from me.
Walking out with my license.
I'm walking out with my license first time around, and that's what I did. And I'm so grateful because I actually told, it all starts in the mind. I think that's how I started walking, because I started imagining myself walk. And then something shifted. I don't know what did, but something shifted, and I'm glad it did, because I wasn't supposed to be walking, and I am walking, and I'm glad.
You are defying what people said your life would be like. But do you think our society does enough for people with disabilities? Because I commend your courage in terms of how you are telling the world about how to deal with you. Coming onto the stage, the first time we met, this evening, in fact, you're like, no, I don't want your help. I can do this. Coming up the stairs and to be able to sit in this couch.
Yes, it's a challenge every day. It's a challenge. Sometimes people don't necessarily think you can't, they just feel pity. And for me, I don't need that, because at home I never got that. So I don't actually know pity, and I don't know how it feels like to be pitied. And my parents were they were always telling me, if we're not there, who's going to do it for you?
Right.
So hence, I've always just been the one to do everything for myself. Even getting in the car can take a little longer, but I still do it. And I find so much pride and joy in the fact that I did it myself 100%. And what I would encourage people to do, because this is what they do to me, is they stare. They don't come and ask me what happened, or they feel like I'm not approachable because I'm different to them physically, but that's only just that. I'm different physically, but I'm just as cool and awesome as everybody else.
Yes, and cool you are. Look at the things that you've gotten to do. How was that gliding experience? Are you not afraid of heights? I'm freaked out by heights.
I actually don't know what I'm afraid of yet. Actually don't know what I'm afraid of.
You're yet to come across a challenge that you're afraid of.
I don't know yet, because I've done rock climbing, so that was like, okay, I'm not afraid of heights. I've been surrounded by snakes. I'm not afraid of that, so I don't know. I'm just looking forward to just doing stuff out of the ordinary. For me, there is no box. You know, they always say think outside the box, but for me, I just see no box.
Your world is limitless.
Yes, and
We
that's
can
one
all
of my
learn so
hashtags.
much.
Actually use that.
Yes.
I'm hashtag limitless.
I swear. I'm going to think of you. Every time I see that word, I'm going to think of you. So what's on the cards next for you, adventure-wise?
Sure. I don't know. Like, I'm an open book. I love volunteering, so I'll continue doing that. Yes. And I just love living life. I love serving in the church, and I just want to prove to myself that I can live life to the fullest. Yes. Because I wasn't supposed to, but then I know otherwise. And I'm actually now learning how to walk slowly without my crutches. So that's another journey, and I'm looking forward to actually transitioning from 2 crutches to the 1. So yes. That should be a lot of fun. Yes. Very scared, but I'm looking forward to it, knowing that I transitioned from a wheelchair to crutches, so it's possible. And I think that's my new journey.
Emily, you light up our world.
Thank you.
You're a hero to me. It's been a privilege just spending this time with you, and also just watching the little bit of your journey that we were able to see. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh. What do you say after that? What do you say? I'm absolutely speechless. I'm just in awe of this woman sitting across from me. Well, we're going to take a quick break. Make sure that you stay tuned for more Real Talk moments. Welcome back to Real Talk on SABC 3. The stage is yours. If you've just joined us, we are celebrating our journey with Huawei and MTN. Throughout the season, we've been capturing moments and connecting people using the Huawei P20. So let's take a look at how Huawei and MTN partnered to put a smile on the face of a very brave little boy, Gideon, who suffers from a life-threatening disease called Franconia anemia. And according to his doctors, he was supposed to live up until the age of 7, but he has surprised many and he has defied the odds. Let's take a look at his story.
The young boy we're meeting today, he's suffering from a life-threatening illness called Franconia anemia, and him and his family have gone through a lot. Gideon! Yeah. Wow, nice to meet you.
For a while, there was like the sword hanging over me of when is my child going to die? And is this day the last day? And at one stage, we just made peace with the fact of it all, is that all of our lives are borrowed, you know.
So you want to be a fireman when you're older?
Yes.
Wow, look at that cupboard. Are you ready to have some fun?
Yeah! Yes! Let's go!
Okay, so we've just arrived here at Josie X, which is the ultimate playground for kids. Okay, boys, I haven't been shot yet, but I'm exhausted. Oh!
He's a complete fighting spirit, and he's such an, I always call him my angel child, and I think it's fitting because of the Franconia anemia, he's got different DNA compared to us. So, yeah, angels should have different DNA.
Dr. Tushka, who is Gideon's mom, as well as Gideon and Kim Webster from the Sunflower Fund, now join me on the couch. Hello, everybody.
Hi. Hello, hi.
A special welcome to Gideon. Hello. Hi. Oh, let me start with you, Tushka. I mean, I can imagine that for every parent, this must be the stuff that you imagine to be a nightmare after you have a child, like to have a diagnosis such as this. But here you are with a brave little boy who has an incredible fighting spirit. How did you come across this diagnosis?
He was actually diagnosed at birth. He was born premature. He only weighed 1 kilo. And the doctor said to me that his joints were missing in his thumbs, and they thought there was a chromosomal defect. So we were actually lucky in the fact that they diagnosed it at birth, and we knew exactly what was the road going forward.
I think that's fantastic that you were able to pick it up so early, or the professionals were able to. But how has raising him been? How's that impacted on the family, the other siblings, just the whole family?
It's been rough. I think everything in Gideon's journey for the last 9 years, and that everything he has endured could be possibly like 70% of 95-year-olds didn't have in their whole lifespan.
Yeah.
So it has been tough. We went through I went through a divorce as well, and we only have the one child. So Gideon doesn't have any siblings because it's a genetic disorder, and every time we have children, there's a chance of having a child with Franconia anemia as well. But a lot of people tell me, you know, it's such a difficult road and you must be so strong. But I think the fact that Gideon is so strong and he's such an incredible fighter just makes it so much easier for me.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I can imagine. So what is Franconia anemia? What's happening in the body?
So what happens is it's a complete bone marrow failure. So it's almost similar to leukemia, but he's pre-leukemic. He doesn't have leukemia yet. And the main problem is the red blood cells which carry the oxygen is not produced. Also the platelets, so he doesn't have any immunity. The white blood cells, so he doesn't have immunity. And then he also doesn't make platelets, so his blood can't clot.
Yes.
And due to that, he's currently on every 10 days that he needs blood and platelet transfusions. So he's at this stage where the medication is not working anymore and his bone marrow doesn't function anymore, so he needs to have a bone marrow transplant.
Right. Let's look at the work that the Sunflower Fund does. How did you come across Gideon's story?
Well, the Sunflower Fund recruits stem cell donors, and somebody like Gideon would essentially need a stem cell donor what would happen is they would replace the defective cells in his bone marrow with new stem cells from a healthy donor. So what the Sunflower Fund does is we recruit those donors, voluntary people across South Africa and Africa, who would put their names forward and say that I want to do something selfless that's going to cost me nothing for someone to give them the hope of life, because that's essentially what you do. And then we maintain a registry of those donors, because what people don't understand is if you register today, you don't give your stem cells today. You essentially would stay on a database until you are one day found to be a match for a patient.
Exactly, it requires
and that
a match.
could be in 10 years' time, it could be in 15 years' time, so you are making a long-term commitment, and therefore it's important for us to put a lot of effort into maintaining that registry as well. Yes.
So when looking for a match, how difficult is it to find one?
It's very difficult because you are essentially looking for your genetic twin.
Yes, and it could be a needle in a haystack.
Exactly, and it could be a haystack somewhere else in the world.
Right.
It's not necessarily that you would find your match in South Africa. One of the difficulties that we have as South African and African people is that our genetic makeup is becoming so much more mixed with the way that, you know, people move across the continent and interracial marriages and so forth. So finding that genetic twin, you're needing somebody that is from the same ethnic and cultural background as you, ideally. And therefore, we need people from every background to register. And in South Africa at the moment, we still have a lot of misconceptions about stem cell donation. One of the things that people think is that it's going to be painful, that they need to have an operation or go under anesthetic and they're going to lose something, you know, like where's my rib kind of thing after a transplant. Yeah. And it's none of those processes. It's actually a fairly painless process if you can handle a needle prick in both of your arms. The other misconception is, does my culture allow me to do this? Does my religion allow me to do this? So we are often finding ourselves needing to get together with cultural leaders and religious leaders to find out exactly what is the best answer that we can give when we recruit donors in a new community that we haven't been active in before, so that we can dispel some of those myths, because essentially somebody like Gideon and others around the world and in the country could be waiting on you to make that bold decision to register
to change
today.
Their lives.
Yes.
So everybody who's listening right now, I could be in need. So it's important that I take this call very seriously.
Yes.
And we always drive people around organ donation, but this is equally important for you to be on a registry such as your own with the Sunflower Fund. So, Tushka, what's happened since we aired Gideon's story?
So we started looking for a donor, and we got the bad news that he's got an additional mutation. That's not typical of the South African population. So we couldn't find any matches in South Africa, and we went on the global registry as well, and they found 3 donors. 10 out of 10 matches. And unfortunately, or fortunately, the donor, even up to the end, may decide if they are willing to donate or not. And unfortunately, all 3 of them they didn't want to donate. So one was due to a medical reason. I think the one lady was pregnant. The other lady just said she wasn't available. So everything crashed and we didn't have any donors available. And then we were looking at second options like cord blood and permissible mismatches and so on. And we really made it like a prayer request. And the lady decided against all odds. She changed her mind and she let us know that she's going to donate. So we've got a 10 out of 10 match. One woman in the whole of the world.
Where is she?
In America. So she's donating, and she's donating her bone marrow on the 17th of October. So we literally got the call last week to say that you have to be in Cape Town next week, Monday. So everything is crazy this week. And so we're going down, and then he is going to get his Hickman line next week, which is the central line, and he's going to get his chemo the week after that. And then his rebirth, which they call when he receives his bone marrow, is going to be on the 18th of October.
I love the word rebirth.
And he loves it because he thinks it's his second birthday.
So you've explained everything. You must be so excited.
Yeah, we are very excited. It's bittersweet though, because we need to go to Cape Town for about 4 months, and my husband can't come with because he has to work.
Yes.
A lot of risks involved as well, but on the other side, he's getting a chance on life.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so it's a lot of emotions all at once.
Oh, you must have just fallen to your knees. As you said, this was a prayer request.
Absolutely.
And you got the yes you wanted.
Absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely. So many miracles in his life.
Yes, yes. I mean, this must be a lot. You know, when you think of life, when you think of what is possible in life, it really has, it probably has shaped your outlook in a critical way.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because, I mean, our whole life, especially this last year, was centralized around Gideon and his blood transfusions and the platelet transfusions. We couldn't go to places that was maybe too far from a hospital. Every time he went to play with his friends, although I tried to bring him up as normal as possible, I have to be careful, because if he falls and he bleeds, he's going to bleed out. So, Mama's praying for all the guardian angels every day around him. And I realized, you know, my priorities just changed completely. Where a lot of people's focuses are on finances or jobs or whatever it might be, mine is just spending another day with my son. And like I said previously as well, all of our lives are borrowed. You know, it's a lot of people like, yeah, but, you know, it's very high risk, and is he going to make it, and is it worth it? I can be in a car accident tomorrow, and my life is over.
There's a lot of uncertainty.
Exactly. So none of us has got certainty. And I need to know that I've done everything in my power to make sure that he's got a chance on life.
Oh, my goodness. A prayer mom, a prayer warrior is what Gideon has.
Yes.
Our prayers are with you, too.
Thank you so much.
This is going to be an immense success.
It is. It's going to be the biggest testimony ever.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gideon.
Dankie, Tannie.
Well, join us after the break for more #Real Talk moments. Welcome back to Real Talk. You'll remember Zukiswa. She was diagnosed with a very rare form of leukemia at the age of 12. And as a result, she spent most of her childhood in and out of hospitals. And after a long and arduous fight with cancer, she was then told she would never be able to bear children. And it is because of her fighting spirit that she managed to forge through her limitations. Let's take a look back at her story.
Today, thanks to Real Talk and our partners, MTN and Huawei, we are going to be connecting with a very strong and resilient young woman. So I want to give this one to your daughter. Hey, that's your teddy. Hey, because your mom is a real warrior.
At that time when I found out my diagnosis now has changed from chronic myeloid leukemia to acute lymphoblastic leukemia ×2. And when there was no hope that I'm going to leave, it devastated me very much, but I never gave up hope.
The most wonderful things in life are sharing special moments, and our special moment that we're focusing on today is we're going to the Lion Park. I know that Zoe is a big fan of wild animals, and there's no better place. It's 20 minutes outside Johannesburg, and I'm sure it's going to be wonderful. Look at this. Wow. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe that. Frightening, absolutely frightening. Okay, there we go. We've got Zoe in the background, and we've got Giraffe Zoe, we've got Suki, and there's a lot of Zeds over here. What an amazing day, guys. A big thank you to MTN and Huawei for connecting me with these amazing people, for you for sharing your amazing story with us, and for sharing these special moments.
Oh, we had such an incredible season with hashtag Real Talk Moments, and it was a great look back. But joining me now is Taryn from CHOC. Good evening, Taryn. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
So what does CHOC do?
CHOC is the only organization within South Africa that provides comprehensive support for children who have cancer, and as well as their families. I mean, if a child is diagnosed with cancer, it's not only the child that goes through it, the entire family goes through it.
Yeah, so for someone like Zukiswa, who's been battling cancer from the age of 12, this has been what you describe as almost a lifelong struggle. What form of support do you provide?
So we provide accommodation support. So there's always somebody who's a parent or a caregiver who's with the child while they're receiving treatment. Then there's also transport support. So if the child is coming from far, they're able to get to the hospital for treatment. And psychosocial support. Our social workers who are based in the hospitals are there from the moment that family finds out that their child has been diagnosed with cancer, all the way up to the end of treatment. Whether it's 6 months, 9 months, 3 years, that social worker walks that path with them. And we also have a voice for cancer, so we do advocacy.
Yes.
So that's one of our major things at the moment, creating awareness about cancer.
And it must be hard on a child dealing with a prognosis like that. As you said, the psychosocial aspect, but the psychological part of it, where we imagine childhoods to be this innocent and this carefree period. They're dealing with a life-threatening condition.
They are, and I think it's such it's a hard thing to understand, and a lot of people don't want to understand it. Childhood cancer. Children shouldn't get cancer. How is that possible? Or they believe it's something they've done in their past, or it's just a flu. It's not something that they should have. So it's also just creating that awareness about how serious this illness is.
Absolutely.
And then going to the other extreme. The sooner you're able to diagnose it, the better your survival rate. And that is what we're aiming for.
So is that why then you train professionals, you train caregivers, you make sure that the medical fraternity is aware of diagnosing and the importance of diagnosing childhood cancers from such a young age? Do they go misdiagnosed a lot often?
A lot. So in South Africa, we have a survival rate of between 50 and 55%. In established countries, you're looking at between 70 to 80%.
So we can
but that number's going up. That number is going up. We're really aiming for that survival rate to go higher and higher. So that just comes with awareness, early warning signs, just letting the public know what are the warning signs for childhood cancer and teaching them.
So how do you then get involved? Take me through in the process. Once someone has been diagnosed, they're in the system, they're dealing with the medical doctor. Where does your intervention begin?
So as soon as that doctor is sitting with their family, their social worker is with them. So if they don't really understand it, perhaps there's a language barrier, or they're just too emotional at that point. I mean, you've just found out your child has cancer. Who do you go to? Where do you go to? So that social worker is there to explain them and walk through that process. They also then establish whether that family needs help with financial helps, with food parcels, things like that. Sometimes the child needs to be admitted immediately. They don't have time to go home and fetch clothing and things like that. So CHOC steps in that. And we really just support that family every possible way that we can. And we make sure that that child understands what they're going through, the family understands what they're going through, and that they're not going through it alone. It's never, ever that. You have a hand to hold, and we're definitely there for you.
I was watching the video looking at Zukiswa wearing the CHOC sweater with the logo on it proudly, right? Because I think she's a testament of what can happen and what is possible with the right kind of support and intervention. She's gone on to have a child, Zoe, even though it was believed that she wouldn't be able 2 years later.
Zuki she's a hero. She honestly is a hero. And CHOC, our slogan is keeping more than hope alive. And what better, I mean, Zuki is that. She's walking around, she works for CHOC, she's involved with CHOC. She meets those children every day. She's able to motivate them to say, look at me, look what I've done, look what I've accomplished. So can you.
Absolutely.
And that really motivates the kids. And it's not only Zuki, there's hundreds of people who have gone through this journey and they're able to walk that path with the children and just help them get through it.
Well, we commend you for the work that you do, Taryn. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. We can't do it without you guys, so thank you very much for everything.
Yes, and I'm glad we're playing our part today by highlighting, spotlighting the important work that's done by all of these organizations. So that was Zuki's story. I bet you remember Tando's story. Let's remind you as we take a look.
Hello world, I'm here with Tando, the bravest young girl in the whole world, and she is watching a movie for the first time in her life. In an empty cinema, there's no one here. We've got all the basics. We've got popcorn, we've got Smarties, we've got a green slash. Enjoy. Enjoy.
into engayifuni ukushiya umama nomkhulu nobhuti.
As you can see there are two dates that are mentioned there. The year she was born and the year she sadly lost her life. It was soon after we aired that insert that we got devastating news that Thando did not win her fight, but there are many others who have. And that's why we need to carry on with our contributions and our efforts in making sure that those with life-threatening conditions somehow find hope and the right kind of support. Well, an organization that continues to provide support is one that recently celebrated 30 years, Reach for a Dream, and I've got Dr. Craig Nossel joining me now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity and the wonderful work you're doing.
Yes, you guys have been doing this for many, many years, 30 years, and I'm sure along the way you'll come across stories such as Thando's story. As much as in all your effort, in all your might, the doctors involved, the families involved, we don't often win or get what we want.
So I think, as I was saying earlier, that not every child is going to make it, and hopefully we can get them diagnosed early, get treated early. And we have amazing doctors and nurses in this country looking after young children. Unfortunately, sometimes they're resistant to treatment, the cancer that they have or the condition that they have. And I think part of what our role is within Reach for a Dream is at least giving the family and that child that amazing dream. And we do have examples, however hard it is, and it never gets easier. Yes. Last year, we had a young boy who wanted to meet Lewis Hamilton, and we sent him to the British Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton dedicated the British Grand Prix to Classy, and he also unfortunately passed away a few months later. Similar with Thando, you know, that she had this dream fulfilled. We had a young girl who wanted to have a princess party, and we had 8 of the Miss South Africa contestants come to the hospital and have a princess party with her. And she also passed away soon after. But the memory for that family, that their child had one of their dreams fulfilled, yes, is absolutely priceless. You know, at the same time, many children are surviving and getting through. And what Reach for a Dream, our focus is around hope, strength, and courage, and helping the children through this difficult time and their families. You saw Gideon's mom here. You know, she's obviously brave and putting on a brave face, but no doubt the trauma that she goes through and seeing her child sick, not knowing if she's going to get a donor. And if there's little things that every organization, you know, whether it's CHOC, Reach for a Dream, whoever it may be, can support the family and provide some sort of hope. Yes. That's the role that we have to play.
Absolutely. And annually you have Slip a Day, which allows everybody to get involved in their own direct way. If we can't make the dream realized, we can at least contribute towards assisting you to carry on making these dreams happen.
So I think what's been interesting for me is that all of us can play some role.
Absolutely.
So as you say, you know, buying a sticker, wearing your slippers on Slip a Day is a big fundraising event for us. And part of that is just to, you know, show some empathy towards these kids, and whether it's kids or adults that are in a hospital setting having to wear slippers because they can't come out. And when we've done outings, so we do a thing called Captain Courage and Queen for a Day, where we take these young boys and girls out, whether it's to have their nails painted or play soccer or to a bike park, and just you see their faces light up, and that opportunity, whether it's going to a zoo, whatever that may be, provides some element of hope and gives them that strength. Yes. When you think they're spending hours, weeks on end, you know, having treatment in a difficult situation. And so whether it's Slip a Day, whatever other thing that you choose to do, and we've realized, I mean, today I got a WhatsApp, a young child wants to meet an archaeologist, and that's his dream. Yes. And we realized it's actually so easy for us. There's no money involved. It's actually just, oh, I know someone who knows someone. And I think that's the amazing thing, seeing the heart that exists in South Africa and how we all connected and can make such a huge difference actually with very little effort.
Absolutely. Oh, it allows us to also feel good about ourselves by getting involved in that way. Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Craig. Thank you for the passion and the work that you do with Reach for a Dream.
Thanks for the opportunity and for all your support. We can't do these things without you.
And we will keep flying this flag. We'll keep using this platform to allow your voices to be heard as well. Well, after the break, we'll be joined by Yanes. He joins us in studio to share his inspiring journey with Huawei and Real Talk Moments. Do you need him there? Okay, cool. Oh, I see. So what?
From the guest, right?
No. Oh.
Okay, stand by. Sorry? No, no, that's fine, yes. So we're doing the outro now. Oh, okay. Thank you. Must I step out? No, no, fine. Stand by in 3,
What
2,
are we doing? Sorry. Just a generic outro link.
Happiness. 3, 2.
Well, join us for more #Real Talk moments after the break. Welcome back to Real Talk. We've almost come to the end of our show. Throughout the season, Yanez got to share special moments with a couple of brave, inspiring individuals. And for a day, they each got to live out their wildest dreams. And joining me to talk about this exciting experience is Yanez Vermeeren. Hello, Yanez. What an incredible journey, right?
What a journey.
I know. How did you get involved?
Weeks. Just, you know what, I'm privileged to have got involved.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to be in the position I am. Having been in front of the camera for so many years, this is probably the most rewarding job I've ever had. Not only for myself, but I think for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen some of the inserts. They've been so...
You've brought us to tears.
Oh, they've been heart-touching. Initially I was in tears. I think the first 3 I was in tears, and I thought, you know what, Yanez, you actually have to man up because there's bigger issues out there. And everyone's been so brave. Some inspirational stuff.
Absolutely. And it would be unfair to ask for highlights, but there have been some unforgettable moments.
Oh, you know what broke my heart was the first one we did was when I spent the day with Tando, who was clearly very sick, and just experiencing that day with her. She'd never gone to a movie before. She'd never eaten at a proper restaurant. I really felt like we connected, and I really felt special. She promised me at the end of the day that she was going to take her meds and she was going to do it for her family. And then a couple of weeks later, when I got that phone call from Reach for a Dream to say she had passed away, I promise you,
yes,
it broke me.
It devastated all of us.
It broke
devastated
me.
All of us.
I wasn't. Yeah, it took me a while to get over that. But I think her story, I mean, it touched me, but it also taught us so much. You know, there's so many kids out there that are vulnerable. There's so many people that are suffering from illnesses we know little about, and if we can all just make a little effort.
How's the experience touched you, though, especially when you think of life, how you move through life, the things you should be grateful for?
Yeah, I mean, think of how we live through our lives. It's we don't often stand still and reflect on what others are suffering, and especially when it comes to children. For me, that's the most heart-wrenching. Is children deserve to be happy, they deserve to be loved, they deserve to have a family and loving parents. And then to find these kids out there that are living in hospitals and they don't have parents that care for them, and they're ill on top of that, it makes you appreciate the small things in life.
Absolutely. I hope we do this again.
I think we should.
Because it's a story that goes into our homes, that inspires us every single day.
You know what, we did, the last story we did was with a young lady called Brooke. And again, her family's been through so much.
Yeah.
And today on my computer, I got an email from her mom saying, listen here, Brooke's actually recovering, she's in remission. And
it was wonderful meeting her. She was on this very show.
She was on this, her dream was to be on live TV and be interviewed by you.
Yes.
And she's now in remission, and I mean,
it's the story.
Can you ask for more?
Yeah, the stories of hope. It's possible. And a great testament for us to never give up. Yeah, thank you, Yanez.
Pleasure.
Well, I'd like to thank you at home for tuning in once again, and of course my guests for sharing their incredible stories with us. I hope their stories of bravery and tenacity have inspired you in some way. Make sure you stay tuned for some compelling drama that's coming up after this on Isidingo. From me and the Real Talk team, it's been an inspiring evening. Good night.
Real Talk is proudly sponsored by Y-Way P20 Pro and MTN.
Each week for 10 weeks, we're giving away the latest Y-Way